Welcome into the Stick to the Skrip podcast. We are on episode 6. I am with my great friend Chavez. If you're watching by chance on YouTube, it looks like he's in an undisclosed location, kind of dark and hidden. Not going to say what he's up to. That's just for him. But Chavez, man, glad to have you on. You know, you're a guy that one of my best friends. We've had way too many stories to tell and times playing together at Lewis and stuff to go over. So easy podcast here today. But I do want to start things off straight away, jump straight into the show, talking about Lewis specifically. So Chavez and I met playing soccer at Lewis University, Division II school. We became friends right away. Chavez, talk to the audience about Lewis, because I feel like when you picture playing college soccer, you just picture much tougher competition and, showing up at a college level after class and, going to practice and things like that. But that shit was kind of like a boot camp at times, man.
Oh man, it was an interesting time being at that school. Easy is definitely not the word I could ever use for our time at Lewis, really. And as much as we went hard at the school and on the field and practicing, doing all the things that we had to do for our coach at that school, but we went just as hard after hours. But during that time, man, it taught us a lot of things, man. There's things that we did there that honestly I don't think can be repeated at other schools. I mean, even having our own coach tell us, he's like, yeah, there's playing soccer in college, but there's playing for me.
Yeah.
And he being proud about the fact that he actually made us broke us down a lot. Let's just
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty often. I mean, it was your typical college sort of team where you got practices, you're on the road and stuff, but there was a lot more to it. I mean, we're talking about waking up for 6 a.m. practices, playing the gate game where we just like beat the shit out of each other, and then hit the hill right afterwards, go to class all day, and then go right back to practice. And these practices were uh, run at a very high expectation. There was a very physical aspect to it. Fitness was huge there. When we were on the road, it was 8-hour trips sometimes. It was tougher than I think some people acknowledge, because I think a lot of people picture one thing for college soccer, but what we had to go through at times, I think was to another level. That's why I kind of joke sometimes that if it felt like a military kind of system.
I mean, it definitely was in our time there. I mean, it went down from waking up. I remember waking up with cold sweats at 5 in the morning, hoping to God that I did not oversleep and having to get to practice, running my ass off over there, just trying to put on my shirt and everything, get to practice on time because I was so scared as a freshman when I was there. But then going through a morning practice and then from there going straight to class and then having the midday practice and then going back to class and then having this was during preseason, but having our third practice of the day, and that was basically our regular day through for a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was a full-time job to say the least. And I think at the end of the day, like I took away a lot from it. I mean, it was very hard. It was very hard physically. It was very hard mentally. I think some things I carry on to coaching now at the high school level. I know you are involved with some younger players too, still to this day, and you've had a coaching experience too. But there's a lot to take away. I think it kind of made us mentally tough at the end of the day. Myself, I know you've given me some shit about it before. I've kind of retired, but at the same time, I still play with my high school guys over at Plainfield South. I go out there, and sometimes I get way too into it, and I forget that I'm a coach, not a player. Very aggressive and trying to get after it and trying to kick some ass just to set an example. But I know you still play in a bunch of leagues, right? Uh, any signs of slowing down, hanging it up? For me, when I think about you, I think about those like older guys that are like 55 years old, and they might have like a knee brace on and they're still fucking playing. That's what I picture when I think of you.
Oh man, thanks for the shot on the knee brace, but
Oh, yeah, indirectly,
but
indirectly.
nah, man, I still play, but every year that I mean, I still play with some of the guys that we met in college and stuff like that. and we play in some pretty competitive leagues still to this day. But I'll be honest, man, every year it gets a little bit tougher, man. It gets a little bit tougher, man. We get older, we have more responsibilities with life and everything like that. So it just gets a little tougher to get out there, but it's a nice time to be out there for even if it is for a couple hours for a game or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you don't lose like some of the qualities you have as a player. You just feel older at times. Because I remember like the first 11v11 scrimmage this year at South. I feel like I like busted my ass just to like make it a point that I was the man on the field. But the next day, like how I felt just from moving in different directions that I normally don't at the gym or in real life, it kind of catches up to you. But you still always kind of keep, the mental piece of it, and you also keep the the touch and the field vision and stuff like that. I feel like that's what will help you, through time as you do get older, stay in the game.
Yeah, you still have all that. And I mean, there's things that you realize playing now at like my age now, and basically there's things I complained when I was a younger player and there was the veterans on the team. Like for example, there'd be veterans on the team yelling at me to run more because they couldn't run it anymore. And now it looks like the tables have turned and I'm yelling at the younger kids on the team
Yeah.
to run for me because I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it no more, man. I need to work the next day. I'm not gonna be able to work if I run as much as you guys.
Yeah, no shit. It's like you're looking and you're like, hey, you know what? I put in the work. I did my time. You go get me the ball now. But you and I obviously we kind of connected right away. I had a major injury in college, maybe for another podcast, but broke my skull. I know that you were there for me originally with a few other guys. You were local. You went to JCA, even though you don't live super far from where my parents lived at. Your parents didn't live far from where my parents lived at. So we connected pretty early on and built our connection from there. Which meant through time, like you said earlier a little bit, there was a lot of time spent together on the soccer field. There was a lot of time spent together off of the soccer field doing stuff. And one of the funniest memories early on, I think it might have been at like Robbie's house or the soccer house or something like that. We had an initial fight, initial fight where we kind of went at it a little bit and butted heads for the first time. Do you remember what that reason was for?
Oh my God. I still remember that fight. I mean, I remember that we were both not in the most sober mindset at the time, but
No, no,
I
no.
do remember it ticking me off that you called me rich boy. And I got pissed off because I immediately in my head it just like it clicked as like privileged or something. And you saw that, and I know that now. I know that knowing you more and more over the years that you like pushing buttons. And as soon as you saw that
Yeah.
button pushed, you kept hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and I was balling up my fist wanting to hit you.
I do remember that. And that 100% is me. That 100% is me that you find buttons sometimes with the people close to you. Like, guys that are just acquaintances, you don't push their buttons too much or, people you don't know as much. But when you have your like close friends and you find those like little buttons, I found one that day and you were pretty mad. I think somebody was like holding you back at one point. I was like a little confused. I was like, no, oh no, it's not that big of a deal, but that was our first time butting heads. Not that we've had a bunch of fights through our time. We might have had some instances where we might have you know disagreed on something or whatever. But it was usually short lived at the end of the day. Another thing I didn't even mention this. When talking to you about things I wanted to cover today. Was it your car that was it your car that I was in the trunk of a lot, or was it somebody else's car going
All
party
right.
to party?
It was definitely my car that started your chain reaction of many, many, many other
Trunk rides.
trunk rides in your lifetime. And I do know the story behind that one. The first one was we went to a house party not too far away, and I happened to be the DD that night. I don't remember the reason why, but I remember going to this party, and it was a bunch of the guys, and me being there, and everybody wanted to leave at a certain time. I think we had practice the next day, so we had to get out early because we had an early morning practice, and you wanted to jump in. But at the time, I had like a Chevy Cobalt. It was a small
Yeah.
car, and I remember we had a full car. Like even in that car, I think I could only fit 3 in the back, and I could get a passenger in the front. We fit 4 in the back, and then you were either talking to somebody, I don't know what, but I couldn't find you in time to get you like at least the front seat or something. So you run out, and you're like, I'll just go in the trunk, and I'm just like, fuck, it's only a fucking like a half a mile drive, man. It's
Yeah.
fine. So we're driving through the city of Lockport there, and I already know that I wanted to be careful in that area just because of the fact it's notorious to have like very, very like strict cops. And I remember driving through there. We stopped at a stoplight, and basically a cop's there in the corner. And I'm acting as cool as can be, like,
Yeah.
let's not draw any attention. Well, he sees that there's too many people in my car, so he pulls me over right at the bridge,
Easy red flag.
and I'm like, motherfucker, hey, pull me over. You, in your state that you were at, you didn't believe, and I could understand that you didn't believe
Couldn't
that
see
we were
nothing.
over. I don't remember who was in the back seat, but I remember you like pounding on the back on the trunk, pounding on the trunk, and like kind of just joking around. You're making the guy in the back, the teammates that we had in the back in my back seat, almost cry because they thought we were all gonna get arrested because
Yeah.
you're in the trunk. I literally, as soon as I screamed back, you actually took me finally seriously. And the cop comes up to me, and he sees that I'm normal, like I'm relaxed and everything, but I tell him, yes, I have too many people in the car, but I'm just trying to take them back to school. I say that we're from Lewis and everything like that. We only literally needed to cross that bridge to get back to school.
Yeah.
And he takes my information, and then basically he's like, yeah, just take them home safe, relax, and everything. But I'm over here like, this could have been so wrong, so it gone so bad if you at that moment would have pounded on the trunk.
Dude, and I like legit. I think people are like fucking with me at the time. I remember. I'm probably hammered. I'm in the trunk. This is like it might have been the first time I did a trunk ride. I remember like twice, like it was this big thing, and people were like, "He's in the trunk." Like I popped out at like a party one time, and people thought it was cool, so I rolled with it. If you're listening to this, don't do that shit because if somebody gets rear-ended, you'll probably die. So it's funny now, but it's actually not funny to do that. But I do remember that because people are like, "Oh, he got pulled over," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like you guys are messing with me. And I was like putting my hand through the seat and grabbing people. And this one dude in the back seat's like, "Nick, please, please." And then I heard you like sternly just like, "Nick, I'm pulled over." Like, so, it like you got into a voice where I'm like, all right, he's not messing around. So I did hear the cop talking to you. I'm chilling in the back seat, just like laying there. But it would have been a bad scene if you did um end up getting caught for having a guy in your trunk, even though, you already had too many people. So that was one. I want to go straight to the next one though. So I won't say what happened. I'm not going to get into any details. It was a long time ago. We both learned from it. But speaking of cops, there was one time where you and I, you and I were together and we had a run in with some sheriffs and it was a learning experience for everybody, right? At the end of the day, um, we both were in cuffs, and they kind of roughed you up a little bit. I remember, just you. I won't say why, whatever, but they just roughed you up. We're both in cuffs. I'm probably, I don't even know, 19. Maybe you're 21. Maybe you're 20. Maybe you're 21. I'm 20. Something along those lines. So we're pretty young, and you can say what they said to us, and what we're going to say is nothing against any sort of group. We're just telling you what the cops said to us. But do you remember when we were in those cuffs, what the one sheriff said to the both of us
Oh man, that damn
that
experience
day?
interesting, man. But honestly, so for them to get us in cuffs, I got tossed on the ground, and in the
Man,
toss on the ground, my belt ripped for because I hit like an edge of ground, like there's dirt and also concrete. and he ripped my belt. And when he put us in cuffs, both of us, and asked us what we were doing, like basically like, do you know that like this is wrong? You can't be doing this shit. And then one of the guys that like sitting in the back sees that my belt's like ripped open and like my pants are fucked up. He's a fucking asshole for saying this, but he's like, are you two on that gay shit? And I remember like dude, let's say we were both drunk. It was one of these drunk, stupid experiences. But
Yeah.
I hear that, I go nuts, and you stay quiet wisely at the moment. I didn't. I got pissed off that he said that,
Yeah.
directed it at me because, well, obviously I'm going with the ripped belt, and I remember, well, I said a lot of choice words, and my parents had to pick me up from the station. So well,
Yeah, he Chavez flipped out. He was mad that they said and that they insinuated that about us. I just stood quiet because I knew they were fucking with us. I knew they were, trying to get to us. And ended up too that the one cop looks at me and says, "Where do you live?" And I said, like a mile, 2 miles down the road. That way I named the subdivision. He uncuffs he uncuffs me and he goes, "Get the fuck out of here." So I look at Chavez. He ain't going nowhere. He's in trouble, and I had to take off. 2 miles down the road, I probably ran 2 miles in like 8 minutes or something like that. Something crazy. I just was like running home. Chavez had to be picked up the next day. Uh, Pretty sure one of your parents was like looking for you at first and like came to my house. It was a huge mess that we learned from, I guess.
it's just one of those situations you learn as you grow and everything like that. It's like, thank thank God that we didn't do anything dumber than that. But
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of dumb times, and some will be left off of the show for the sake of each other. But speaking of your parents, I always have to bring up that too because there was a time in my life where, you know, I've always felt like I had a good relationship with your mom and your dad, right? But there was a time in my life where I um, felt uncomfortable going to your house, and it was 100% my fault. And the reason being was that you had a party one time. It was in your basement. You had a bunch of people over. I remember. I think Anthony actually came with me. I brought a girl with. Um, and there was a bunch of people there, but we were all drinking and stuff. The person that I brought with her and I think like finished like a fifth of UV blue together, like kind of early. So we were like super fucked up. And, you know, being the smart people we were at the time, we were like, yeah, like let's have some uh relations today, but let's not wait for it. Let's like do it right now. So her and I ended up, and I'll go through half the story, then you can finish it off. But her and I ended up going into your bathroom upstairs. Your party was downstairs. We walked up the stairs. There's a bathroom right there. Her and I snuck in there. Probably thought we were quiet. We were not. We're doing a bunch of stuff in there, hanging out, partying more, I guess, together in there. And someone heard us. Someone came knocking on the door. And who was it?
uh, so to explain this one, and I still remember that day, and it's still talked about in my family. Oh, so it's so vivid. But I had to put up a an pissed off face when I wasn't really pissed off. I was more like, did this seriously just happen? And also, I tried not to laugh, but basically, I'm having this party at my parents' house. We're in the basement, have a bunch of people there. So the layout of my parents' house is basically pretty big, finished basement. You got the main floor, and then you got a floor upstairs where basically all of us like sleep. It's all our rooms and stuff. And in the middle floor, there is a guest bathroom. So downstairs, there's also a bathroom as well as a bedroom that's empty. So we're having a good time and everything like that downstairs. We're partying, listening to music, blasting music. So I remember I get a phone call. I get a phone call and I'm like, I look down on my phone and I'm like, why is my mom calling me at her house? What's going on? So I put the phone up to my ear. I still have music blasting because there's a lot of people there. So I'm really not paying attention too much.
Uh,
I hear my mom distinctly in Spanish, but she says it. She's like, "I need you to fucking come upstairs." And I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" And she's like, "Now." So I'm walking upstairs. I got the music ringing in my ear, so I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. I go up the stairs. I open the door. Well, I see my mom in the second floor looking down at me, and she's like, "Get them the fuck out." And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on.
what?
I'm like, who's them? Like, what's going on? I don't really understand where this is going. And then she's like, they're in the bathroom. And then I like, there's like a chill that goes down my spine, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I start to listen and just get the ringing out of my ear, and I start to listen. And at that time that I listen, I hear some suggestive noises coming out of the bathroom. And in
It was
my
like a high pitched moan, probably, but it was me. It was me.
But basically, I hear it, and I don't. At that moment that I hear it, I literally in my head, I'm like, "Oh fuck, what am I supposed to do?" And she's like, "Get them the hell out of my house right now." So I knock, and the first couple knocks, your ass isn't even listening. You're still doing what you're doing until I bang on it, and then I try to unlock it. That's when you react and you're like, oh shit, oh shit. I hear you wrestling around and saying, oh shit, oh shit. You peer out. You don't turn on the lights. You just peer out. And in the in a voice trying not to laugh my ass off, basically, I'm like, you need to go. Like, dude, you need to leave. Like,
Yeah.
you and whoever you were with get dressed as best as you can. That you leave so quickly out the door that one, you forget your shoes. You go outside, you leave, you forget your shoes, and most importantly, you forget your little brother downstairs.
Oh yeah, Anthony was there. Yeah,
As I know that at the time, Anthony was, I don't even remember how old Anthony was at that time,
young.
but I
He had to
remember
be young.
he was downstairs playing FIFA. I walked downstairs and I was like, yo, I had to kick out your brother. And I think he left without you. And he's like, what the fuck? Are you serious? And I was like, yeah, you want to get on the phone and try to figure out what's going on?
Yeah, I think he did get on the phone, and I was like, "No, I'm outside. Can you bring me my my shoes?" And he did. I don't think he was that mad. Anthony gets mad about a lot of stuff. He didn't get that mad, but that was one of the things too, where like it sucked that I had to like stop whatever I was doing and leave. But I didn't contest you at all. I just knew. I was like, I fucked up. Like I gotta go. So I was kind of scared to go to your parents' house for a little bit because I felt embarrassed, and they didn't even care about it. Like down the road, it became like a joke. It was, spoken of in speeches and shit like that. But yeah, we got plenty of stories like that involving like, you know, just being stupid with those sort of situations. I'm pretty sure in North one time you might have like seen me like butt naked running out of the shower with somebody or something like that too. Just like random stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just trying to sleep peacefully on your couch, and all of a sudden I wake up and I see two people running around naked.
Yeah, I do remember that because I remember like certain person, she like runs to the room. I start running out. I look at me and you like make eye contact. I'm like butt ass naked. I'm just like, all right, bye. And just like kept going. But enough making fun of me. I want to bring up something that happened on another podcast. We were talking about New Year's Eve stories, and we brought up this story before. All right. And we never dropped a name. We never dropped a name. I try not to drop names on this podcast unless that person is on the show, which you are here today. So that story from before was a Spark Note version. There was a person that thought that they cheated on their significant other with another girl that was at this New Year's Eve party. I asked this girl if it happened. She didn't even know who I was talking about at the time. So we kind of figured that didn't happen. This guy called me, in distress on the phone the next day, saying his girl, I think she left me because I might have cheated at your New Year's Eve party at your parents' house. It was this big mess. That guy was this guy next to me, Chavez. He's with a different girl at the time. For some reason, you thought you might have cheated on her with some girl that apparently didn't even remember who you were, something along those lines. So it was talked about on that show. There's some people that have listened to every single show. And if you have not listened to every single show, go back and make sure you do, because there's plenty of good ones, including this one here today. But we got to hear it from your perspective about what actually was going through your head, that you thought you cheated on New Year's Eve. It jeopardized your old relationship, but it never happened.
Oh God, that had to be one of my lowest moments. It was so stupid. Now that I think back to it, older, wiser, I'm just like, wow, that was so dumb. But I remember that it was a New Year's party that we were having at your parents' house. For a good while, it was a tradition that we would do.
Yeah.
I know that day, I mean, it was John basically, and everybody was taking shots, and I was partaking also. I went a couple too many, and the best way to how to start it is that I blacked out. So I completely blacked out that night. So I didn't remember bits and pieces of things that were either said or done. So basically, I'm calling you the next day in the morning because the person that I was dating at the time basically kept saying that I cheated on her. And I was like, with who? Basically kept going back and forth. I'm like, with who? She's like, well, then tell me that you didn't cheat. I was like, and this is probably an answer that I shouldn't have given her, is I don't even remember what I did last night. Like I was like, literally, I just honestly can't tell you because I know. And she's like, she would name off this girl that was there. And I would be like, yeah, I saw her there. I did talk to her and she
Yeah.
talked to both of us. And she's like, no, you cheated on me with that girl. And I was like, how do you know, or why do you think that I did? And she's like, yeah, you two were alone in the garage. And I was like,
Yeah.
was I just sitting in the garage drunk off my mind? And apparently she walked in there? Or what did you see us doing anything? No, it was never like concrete. She saw it with her own eyes. It was assumed that I did something. And I remember talking to said girl, but I was just like, I don't know. And it escalated so high that it got the whole family involved, because I'm asking everybody. I'm asking your mom, I'm asking your dad.
Yeah.
Your mom's just like, Christian, stop being an idiot. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't remember. I just didn't remember that whole ordeal. And I'm over here like, I got dumped for like a good couple days because I'm just like, what? I can't tell you if I did or didn't. I genuinely don't know if I did it. And because basically she told me repeatedly so many times that I was just like, did I? And then that's when we started asking. You asked the said girl, and she didn't even know who the hell I was.
Yeah, she was like, "Who is Chavez?" And I'm like, "All right, that's all I need to know." And obviously, she knew your face and stuff. She probably wasn't putting the name together or anything, but it was this whole ordeal. I remember it being like strange that day too, on New Year's Day, because I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like I had someone that like stood over and then was like staying over super long that day, who was super cool and stuff, but it was like that. And then somebody else came by that was in our friend group, and we had like this strange intermix of group uh, on that New Year's Day at my mom's house, and we're just like playing games and stuff. And I got that call from you, and it was a tough situation. It was, but it was confirmed. We didn't have to like take you to Jerry Springer or something like that to get the lie detector test. It was confirmed that you did not cheat. You were not a cheater that day, that specific time with it. Um,
Uh,
but
Ridiculous. It
what?
really.
Oh, go ahead.
It was plenty ridiculous, that whole situation. It was just I feel I even talking about it now, I'm just like, really, that really actually did happen.
And at the end of the day, with that said person, didn't end up working out. So I mean, the end of the show here is our last topic here. So Chavez, I was the best man in Chavez's wedding
Mhm.
that he had a great speech. I think I was like one of the popular people at the wedding that day, just because I think like I was saying like shitty jokes about like different things that happened to us. I told the cop story. I told the getting kicked out of the bathroom, like your mom, your aunts, like they were like cheering for these like bad stories about stuff that happened with us. You stood up in my wedding, obviously, as well. And that was a great time too. So obviously we were there for each other on two of our biggest days ever. Unfortunately, neither one of us are still with those people that we married. And it was kind of funny because John, our friend John, who was on the show before, kind of joked around about that at Bedrocks the other day and said that we needed to like return the wedding gifts that certain people gave us back in the day. But yeah, no longer with our significant others. But I want to talk. I want to talk about your bounce back here. I do. I want to pick your brain a little bit about it too, because, and I'm just gonna spit out like a a quick rant about things. So since getting broke, or we broke up, right?
Yeah.
We're getting finalizing divorce. Here's some of the situations I ran into. So number one had a um let's just say these are all interactions. They could be level 10, level 1. Interaction with the girl that had a major trauma in her life, and I'm like, dude, I'm the wrong person to make it worse. That was one. Had one where I had an interaction where she was being like tracked by her boyfriend, coming and hanging out with me. That was one. I had one where I was trying to rekindle things from an old crush who's like 50-ish years old. That was a weird thing as well. Had somebody from college that I like really used to like a lot, but she lives out of state. We almost met up like twice. We've had these interactions. She might like just like go back to her ex sometime soon. Had that interaction. I fell in love at Bedrocks not long ago with this short, cute girl that we were dancing, having a great time playing beer pong. Great vibes. I'm like, this is for sure like my next girlfriend right here. She's married. I just go down the list of all these like fucked up situations that I've had of other people popping up from the past. I won't even get into some of those, random people from the past, just like, hey, Nick, heard, you are single, like, and then it becomes like some fucked up situation again. But I've had all these like domino effects of weird things going on, bad situations, like funny situations, kind of crazy stuff. Still have like, things going on that are just like very strange. But you, on the other hand, you bounce back big time. You found somebody else post divorce that you've been dating for a while now. I've met her a few times. Super, super cool, very pretty, massive. I'm not being a dick, but a major upgrade over your ex. Sorry, I'm just gonna say it. Major, major upgrade. I'll say it. People can say I'm an asshole. Fuck it. But major upgrade. But talk about the bounce back, man, because I know at times, it was hard, but you got there. You got there.
I mean, that hard is an understatement when it comes to that, man. Because I mean, it's all a process, man. It really is. Like, look, I take my previous marriage and everything like that as a learning experience. We and simply chalk it up. Not even speaking bad about the person or anything. It's just we weren't right for each other, and
Yeah.
I could put it. Um, Beyond that, man, I just remember my process of everything that I went. Like when I did do the split and everything, and she left, and I kind of had to gather myself. I spent a whole month by myself in the apartment that I had at the time. I just spent it by myself. I kind of needed to really think about everything and just analyze like what's important in my life at the moment, what I need to do, and how I feel about everything. And I kind of
Yeah.
spent. I didn't tell anybody. I just kept to myself. I mean, you kind of knew that me and her were already on the splits, but when I actually left, I kind of kept it to myself until like I felt good enough with myself at the time. So after that, like from there, like even you're dealing with right now, you dealt with a lot of experiences, like weird ones,
I got
awkward.
catfish. I forgot to say that too. I got catfish. Oh,
I
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I even when I went back to my parents, I went back to my parents temporarily and then moved out again. But during that time, I when I started felt comfortable enough to get back to the dating scene, I dealt with the weirdest crap, man. I got catfished once. I met my first gold digger of my whole life, and I was like, man, I don't even make that much. And you wanted to gold dig me? I was like, Jesus. But I I dealt with the weirdest crap, and honestly, when it came to the point that I dealt with so much randomness in this life, like just dating game. I basically had just told my cousin, I'm done. I'm done for a while. I'm gonna just focus on myself. I think I'm good. I gave it a shot, but I'm not finding what I want, and
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna go the whole single route for like, and not even date or even anything. And that's when when she had mentioned that she had a friend, and she thought that basically maybe our personalities kind of match.
Yeah.
I mean, me and my cousin, we were basically raised together, so she knows me better than anybody. She was just like, maybe give it a shot. Do you want to? And I literally, she had to try a little bit to convince me to be like, yeah, I should meet her. And basically, met her. First time I met her, man, I all I know is I had it like in my head. I was just like, I'm out there to just have a good time, go out,
Yeah.
and let's see how this goes. I see her first thing I see her, and I'm just like blown away. And I was just like, shit, thanks. Think like in my head, I'm like, thanks to my cousin. I was like, damn, like thank you. Uh,
Ultimate wingman right there, wing
I was
woman.
like, she definitely wing woman that situation because I basically started talking to her, and she was right. Like me and this girl just hit it off immediately, and she was in a very similar predicament that I was. So we had a lot of similarities in that sense, and basically we kind of kicked it off of there. And at this moment now, we live together and everything, and
Yeah.
it's going great. And it's a complete 180 of a situation of a marriage of a failed marriage that I had, and it gives me like a lot of joy that damn, like if I really like I really, yeah, I know I messed up in some things, but I didn't really completely, I wasn't the complete bad guy in my last relationship. That it was
Mhm.
just that I hadn't found the right person. And right now, everything melds. Everything's good over here. Family,
Yeah.
love, you, literally over here.
No, it's great. And it's great. It's good to see. It's good to see. Just because obviously you and I have been like brothers more than friends for a long time, and I know how rough it was for you. I don't think people truly understand either how like going through a process like marriage uh, and then it ending actually feels, because I think people still have this like thought process that it's a breakup, right? It's a breakup, but like it's not, right? You go through an entire fucking, process of planning a wedding and all that stuff. So when it happens, like you're at a low point, and then me going through the same thing later in life than you did, not a lot later, but like later I'm like, man, you know what? I get how this guy felt now, and it doesn't always have to mean like, oh, you're so hurt because you just like miss that person so much or something. It just there's just like a lot of emotions that go into it. There's a lot of things that go, um, hand in hand with it. And I remember you talking to me about how you sat and just like drank for a whole day like a case by yourself. And I went through the same shit. Like I was like just sitting here getting drunk all the time by myself playing FIFA and feeling sorry about, situations and being like super mad about stuff and everything. Never lost, and I will say this, I'm not a bullshitter, never lost the focus on Mila. That was always number one. Like I never lost that. But you start like losing, maybe your path a little bit because I got into a path where I'm like, you know what? I'm so mad about how things went. I'm so mad about like, how I felt, how low I was, how I've, felt that I'm just going to go out there and go back to my old ways of like, not to sound like an asshole or anything, but just like, I'm going to start talking to everybody now. I'm going to start trying to talk to everybody possible. And, you go into that phase. But now, like, seeing, your end result of, hey, you know what? You probably went and dated and stuff too. I'm not trying to make you talk about that. We don't need to, but you probably went through a phase, but you ended up, being happy at the end of the day. And that's encouraging for me because I feel like I was like caught up in like being in a depressed state, phase one, phase two, trying to be back in like old, like fake ass G-Easy state where I'm trying to talk to everybody. Now, phase three, I'm just like, you know what? Focus on just like leveling up myself, and good things will come down the road, just like Chavez.
It's the thing. It's when it comes to this, is that not for everybody a time frame. You can't give anybody a time frame really. So like some people, like you said, when you talk about the drinking and everything, there was a point that if somebody knew what it meant me at that point, they would have just thought the worst of me because
Yeah,
I didn't give a shit about anything. I was just drinking, and it was not because I was like you even said, sad about the relationship or anything like that. I was more disappointed in myself and all the things that like just transpired in the relationship and with in in total, like with a relationship that I left with my family at the time too, because
yeah, yeah,
that hurt bad because I did push myself away from my family for a while, and I'm a very prideful person, so I had to basically build it in myself to ask for forgiveness and then basically build on it and know that it's going to take me a little while, that people are not just going to like turn around and just take me up with open arms. I kind of like did mess up a good amount of things over here, so I just got to realize where I'm at, and
yeah,
then really just know that everything's a process and focus on good things. Like for me, I was very depressed and very stressed out that I gained a lot of weight.
yeah,
And me being an athlete and playing soccer my whole life, and the level that I did, me gaining that much weight, it just really depressed me because I literally wasn't even able to play the game that I loved. And I wasn't able to, and I always took pride in being healthy and just being able to do things, and I couldn't. And I just focused. I remember just eating better and just going to the gym and just getting back to playing, running, everything. It was just like small goals that I would set myself to just get to hit, and it made me feel great until I built back that self confidence.
yeah, yeah. And I relate to it a lot because, again, like going through that maybe like depressed state, like we just said, in a drinking phase, going through a phase of just like being, again, just super emotional, whether it was like sad about, you know, the family maybe I wanted to build, number one, number two, um, just like mad about things I won't talk about on the show, but mad about how certain things probably were, happening for one, being mad about that, being mad about, putting in an effort and stuff to like try to grab onto something, and then going through like, that depressed stage, then going into like, I'm fucking like this again, I'm gonna sound like an asshole, but this is just my mind. I'm fucking Nick Skrip. Like I'm going back to how I used to be. I never had an issue before. I'm gonna go back to that. And then I think I'm more on that path of what you just said now. You just said that got back in shape and you start focusing on building yourself. I think that's me now, and I relate to that. I'm not going to say I'm not, going to try to build relationships and stuff, but I feel like just like putting in extra effort into the gym and podcasting and fantasy football stuff and coaching stuff, like those things, I think having that focus versus the focus on like being emotional, or the focus on like trying to, make a statement by talking to 100 people or something like that, that's just a better route to go. And having that better route at the end of the day of leveling up, being a better version of yourself, and pushing yourself forward, I think that at the end of the day is what's going to, have a better end result, like you have seen yourself. So I'm on that same wave, man.
It's the only way to go upon it, man. It's the only positive way to go forward with it, man. Because dude, like you're my brother, man, and I care about you a lot, man. And we've been through a lot of shit, a lot of dumb shit, a lot of
A
great,
lot,
a lot of
a lot. I like for example, just to paint the picture of, and I said this at your wedding, like like the people I've had on the show so far have been extremely important people to me through time, right? Maybe Fontaine is more of a recent friend that we build a strong connection. John was another guy that stood up in the wedding and stuff, and me and him built a very, very strong connection through time. Anthony is obviously my best friend, my brother. But you and I, man, I mean, through time, we've gone through a lot of shit together. I said in your wedding speech, I remember, you being in the hospital at one point, and like me and, one other person were the ones outside of your actual family that came and saw you and checked up on you and were there for you. And I remember losing my nana, and you were one of few friends that was actually there a lot for me when I actually needed a lot of people to be there for me. And you were one of few people. So, we talk about all these stories on this podcast. We talk about like similar feelings and stuff with divorce, talk about college soccer, talk about all these stories. At the end of the day, like, that just goes to show you through all of this combination of things, being there for each other through all different areas of life, how you build a friendship, but also you can build like someone who is actually, your brother at the end of the day without actually being blood.
No, that's exactly how it is, and I mean, and one of the things that even from the first moment we met each other, and then we started really getting to know each other, our family dynamics are very close, very like similar, and it seemed like it was something that made us click even more because of the
Yeah.
fact as I know it for you too, we loved going out. We did.
Yeah.
We loved doing it. Even to this day, I love the occasional time going out, man, having a great ass time. But I'll choose hanging out with my family over anything. And I'll choose like, hey, let's stay at the garage. When it was with you and your family, I was like, let's just hang out at the garage. I don't even need to. Do we need to go to the bar? Let's
No.
just.
Yeah.
You want to? Let me get on the phone. Let me just call a couple people. Let's get some people to come over here, and let's have a great time. And that's a lot of our summer nights from basically when we had our break from leaving each semester after we were done at Lewis. We spend them right there in that garage,
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
talking, getting together with friends and stuff.
Yep, yep, and that's just how you build a friendship at the end of the day. I feel like, and we've done that through time. But um, good show, man. Good show. Getting close to the 50-minute mark here, so probably gonna wrap it up. But a lot of good topics. I hope people really listen to this one. I think this one had a lot of good stuff in it. Any wise words, anything you want to say to anybody listening? It could be about anything as we close the show out. I'm giving you an open mic. Anything you want to say. I got one thing that comes to mind first, or not first, but I'll let you go first, and I'll close it out on my one thought that I have. Could be about anything. Any words of encouragement, anything.
I mean, man, I'll say it just to keep on with the theme that we were going on, man, and it's just really true. And as cliche as it sounds, man, even if no matter what dark time you're at in your life, man, it's gonna get better, man. It does. No matter what, it will. It will.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Great message. Great message. Because you never know at the end of the day what people are going through, what battles they're facing with themselves or with others. And a lot of people find themselves at some point in their life in a dark spot, and you will get out. So I do like that. My message is going to be not as deep. It's not going to be serious at all. It's going to be uh, if you go to a bar and you order a mineral water, the bartender will make fun of you. And Chavez learned that the hard way at Bedrocks not too long ago. Not too long
That
ago.
was some bullshit.
Big fan of that bartender, by the way. But she did make fun of you. She did make fun of you.
I, I'll take the L on that one, even though
Yeah.
I needed it, but I'll take the L.
Yeah, that was funny. All right, man. Thanks for coming on the show, Chavez. Appreciate you, brother. I'll talk to you soon. And again, if you guys liked this episode, tell your fucking friends about it. This stuff has been growing the last couple of weeks. The views and downloads have been crazy. Very pleasantly surprised, but it needs to get even bigger. So spread the word to your friends and family. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to it, whether it was YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify. That helps the podcast as well. Thank you guys and enjoy your days.